Hey everyone, I'm Trevor and today we're at Disneyland to share with you some of my favorite tips to help you save time here at Disneyland. And because this is a tip-centric video, this is going to be what I call a talking head video. I'm just going to have a seat right here at a bench on Main Street and we're just going to talk some tips. So without further ado, let's get going. Now, we will absolutely change locations from time to time just to keep things interesting so you're not staring at the same backdrop. And we'll point some things out. We'll walk around the park and point some things out as we go as well. But first thing that I want to share with you is that there's a whole list of things that you should do before you even get here. And the first and primary one of those is going to be to download the Disneyland app. Now, when you get here in the Disneyland app, there's a couple of things that you can do before you even get here, well, that you should do just to be prepared. So the first thing is to come over here to the map. And when you're at the map, you're going to see the attractions, I think, are preloaded. And you can see wait times. Right now, it's 9:46 on Tuesday, April 15th. And so you can take a look here, and we see that Peter Pan is 45 minutes, and Snow White is 10, Matterhorn is 30, Hyperspace Mountain rather, is 55. Let's scroll over here to Rise of the Resistance at 90 and 25 for Smuggler's Run. This is spring break, mind you. This is a week that is right before Easter, so it's my kids are off on spring break today. And actually, I mean, the wait times aren't too bad for a good chunk of the rides, but some of the rides are longer. So what you should do every single day leading up to your trip, you should be taking a look at these wait times just to familiarize yourself with how long these rides tend to be at different times throughout the days. But additionally, if you come down here and you press this plus button, and then you see this order food right here, you can be taking a look at menus. And so you can just go through. You don't have to be here to do this, and you don't have to actually go through with it either. But if you want to just check out Jolly Holiday Bakery Cafe, you can hit begin order, and you can just scroll through, and it will show you the pictures of all of these food items. So you can see what they have available, and this is just right now, of course. So we're seeing a lot of different like snack and breakfast type items, some croissants, but we scroll down a little bit further. Here's their breakfast sandwiches. If you look a little bit later on in the day, you can look at their other things. How do I do that? Well, if we back out here, we just go out here, and then we click in, you'll see these time windows here at the top. So you just pick something that's a little bit later on in the day. It'll be afterwards, during their lunch. We'll scroll all the way down to the bottom, and now we can see their sandwiches. And you can go through and you can do this for all of the different restaurants, and you can just look at pictures, you can look at menus, and you can figure out what you want before you even get here. And the reason that's going to save you a lot of time is because instead of just spending the time here trying to figure out what you want to eat and wasting time that you could be doing other things, just do it ahead of time. Come up with what you want to eat, know what you want to eat, and then just go straight for it. You might change your mind when you're here. You know, like, the big challenge is, do I really know what I'm going to feel like eating 6 weeks before, 10 weeks before, 6 months before? Probably not. But you can look through those mobile order lines while you're standing in line for a ride. And just go through the app, though, to get used to the app so that you're not trying to learn the app and, use it at the same time. Learn it at home, use it when you get here. Another thing that you can do to prep for coming to Disneyland is watch my tour and crowd videos. In fact, I will be filming a crowd video here today as well for April. But this is how we do the tour videos. We literally just go on a walk. I walk and talk, and I'll point out different things. Like over here off to our left is Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. This is an excellent show that you can actually eat a Dole Whip while watching. You can order Dole Whips right here at the Tiki Juice Bar and just go straight into the Enchanted Tiki Room with your Dole Whip. And then, we would just continue on. And what we're going to do is this is going to familiarize you with the layout of Disneyland. That's another thing you can use the app for as well, is just trying to figure out where things are. Because if you are trying to go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and you're headed towards Mickey's Toontown, they are not going to connect. So it does benefit you to be familiar with, the layout of Disneyland. The next thing that you should do is create a plan. Now, I don't want you to like hyper plan and over plan and plan down to the minute. 8:02 you're doing this, 8:06 you're doing this. No, don't hyper plan. Things aren't going to go according to plan, but at least know what your plan is for the day. Know that you want to do Space Mountain at some point. Know that you want to do Matterhorn, that you want to see the Tangled show at the Little Fantasy Fair Theater, that you want to check out Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room, that you want to eat at Jolly Holiday Bakery Cafe. Just have a general idea of what you want to do, again, so that you're not floundering when you get here. The biggest time waster at Disneyland is people who have no clue what they're doing or where they're going, and they just flounder wishy-washy, not knowing where to go next. And so if you at least have a plan, you at least know what you're doing, even if you're not like organizing it in a particular order, you again at least have an idea of what to do, and that will save you a ton of time. The next thing that you could consider doing is pre-purchasing Lightning Lane Multi-Pass before you get here. There is a benefit to doing that in that you can lock in the lowest rate. So if you happen to be coming during a busy time of the year, like spring break, you are going to be paying spring break prices on Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. But if you buy it ahead of time, you'll get the lowest, like off-season type rate. However, you're going to lock yourself into paying for Lightning Lane Multi-Pass for every single day of your trip. And if you are here for 5 days and you only plan on doing Lightning Lane Multi-Pass for 2, then you're going to have to purchase it day of. However, if you are coming for 1 or 2 days and you know you're absolutely going to use it for your whole trip, you can consider saving some time by purchasing it beforehand. What time does that save you? Well, you can't scan, or you can't book a Lightning Lane until you actually scan into the park, till all your party is scanned into the park. And then you can book your first Lightning Lane. And if you have to purchase the Lightning Lane first before booking something, you could potentially get a slightly later time on coveted things like Indiana Jones. Maybe that's not a big deal to you, but if you're trying to save, even fractions of a second, pre-purchasing a Lightning Lane Multi-Pass so that as soon as you get in here you can make those selections will speed things up a little bit. Something else that you should consider pre-purchasing, if you're going to buy them anyway, is going to be magic bands. Now, if you do want to buy them in the park, the Westward Co. Trading Company here at Frontierland is going to be one of those places where you can do that. And you're going to want to come over here to this back wall. And here is a whole slew of potential magic bands that you could purchase. You can also find these online. And if you purchase them before you get here, you can actually set them up and connect them to your app long before you even get into the park. Because there is a bit of setup that is involved with magic bands. Not only do you have to turn them on, you have to connect them to your phone via Bluetooth, you have to link them, update them, they've got to download the latest software, firmware, that sort of thing. You usually have to charge them. I mean, they come with a minimal amount of charge on them. Sometimes I've seen 2/3 charged, other times I've seen like a quarter of a charge left. Sometimes it's not even charged enough to link it to your account. So if you're purchasing it day of in the park, you're going to have to connect it to a battery pack of some sort. And so I just recommend purchasing these either at home online so that they come to you beforehand, or you can go to Downtown Disney and purchase them from the World of Disney on the first day that you arrive before you go into a park, and then charge it up that night and connect it to your device. Do that beforehand, it will save you some time. Another thing that you could consider doing is just avoiding the busy times of the year. What are those busy times? Well, spring break being one of them. That's what we're in right now. Mid-March to mid-April is spring break. Avoid spring break, avoid Christmas. If you can avoid the week of Christmas, please do so. I have not been here, but I've seen posts and things, and it's just absolute chaos. In fact, going over Thanksgiving is a better choice than going over Christmas. Just avoid Christmas week as much as you can. Any other like major holidays are going to be a big one as well, like Memorial Day and 4th of July and things like that. Avoid those days if you can. You will save yourself a lot of time just by coming at a less busier time of year. Alternatively, you could choose to visit Disneyland during the rainy season. Now, Walt Disney World is not a stranger to rain, but Disneyland, on the other hand, doesn't get a whole lot of rain. It's fairly dry here. But we do have occasional years like 2023 where we get jumped. And the rainy season is typically from October to May. Like that's the 6-month time frame that you'll find a lot of rain. However, the months that you specifically want to avoid, after that train goes by, of course, not avoid, what did I say? The months that you want to go are actually probably going to be December, January, and February. Those are the rainiest months that we usually have. January, I feel like being the wettest month that we typically get. And the reason why you want to visit during the rain is because a lot of locals will cancel their reservations on rain days. I mean, I know I do. I'd rather come up here when it's not raining. And so it tends to be a little less crowded. It's not going to be like empty because there's plenty of people who are here on their vacations that are just going to grin and bear it. However, if it's a lot of locals, they'll usually choose to go some other time. So visiting during the rainy season can be a strategy for visiting with some lower crowds. Now, if you've been around my channel for any length of time, you may be saying, Trevor, didn't you do this video last year? Didn't you do this video 2 years ago? Are you just reusing the same videos over and over again all the time? Yes, in a sense I am, because there's new people who didn't know my channel last year and maybe didn't see this video last year, and this could be helpful to those people. Even if you saw this video last year, you saw it a year ago, a refresher might be helpful. Additionally, I always try to add new tips, new things that I haven't shared before, maybe some things that I've learned throughout the year. So I always try to update them from year to year. So if you do feel like, I've done this topic before, I'm not just regurgitating it, I am trying to improve and make it better and more useful to you. And one of those new tips is actually, instead of purchasing a standard Disneyland park ticket, consider purchasing an after-hours ticket for rides instead. I just bought a Star Wars ticket, went to Star Wars night on April 8th, and did nothing Star Wars night related, just rode rides all night long from the time that the mix-in began at 6 p.m. to the time that the park closed at 1 a.m. 7 hours, and I was able to ride just about every single attraction at Disneyland in just 7 hours. And if you happen to be visiting Disneyland on a Saturday during the busy season, it could be $198. One of those after-hours event tickets can fluctuate between $140 to $170. It's still cheaper than $198, and you can get more rides done during those after-hour events because most of the rides are walk-ons. Watch the video if you don't believe me. I feel like at least 70% of the rides had no wait. We just walked straight on them. It was glorious. It was amazing. It was stress-free. You should consider doing it just for the stress-free aspect. There are a lot of different types of after-hours events that go on throughout Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. There's Princess Night, there's Sweethearts Night, there's Disney Channel Night, 90s Night. I mean, those two are usually about the same time frame. Star Wars Night, there's Grad Nights, there's Pride Nights, there's Oogie Boogie Bash. Oogie Boogie Bash takes place at Disney California Adventure, and that's a big one. That's probably the most popular one. It runs from the end of August through the end of October. It has the most nights, absolutely. And usually these after-hours events tickets go on sale about 2 to 3 months before the event. Generally 2 months or so, usually end of June for Oogie Boogie Bash, which kicks off end of August. And so be on the lookout for those tickets to go on sale. Events like Oogie Boogie Bash sell out almost instantly. Star Wars Night tickets were available for quite some time. In fact, I purchased mine like 2 or 3 weeks after they went on sale. So it wasn't like an immediate thing sell out for some of these events, but some of them do sell out quickly. If you plan to attend them, you're gonna have to make the preparations ahead of time. Something else you might consider doing is staying at a Disneyland hotel. Disneyland hotel guests get early access to the parks. Starting at 7:30, parks open at 8 o'clock. At 7:30, they'll get early access to Disneyland on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and early access to Disney California Adventure on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And so if you want to get 30 extra minutes in the park and have access to rides like Dumbo and Fantasyland, as well as Tomorrowland here at Disneyland, you can stay at a Disneyland hotel. The Disneyland Hotel, the Grand Californian Hotel, and the Pixar Place Hotel. That's it for our tips that revolve around things that you should do before you get here. Now, what about once you're at Disneyland? Well, the first thing you should do, and this is one that I say all the time, show up for rope drop, okay? Fantasyland is gonna give you your biggest bang for your buck. You are gonna be able to walk on a lot of attractions, and Alice in Wonderland here behind me does tend to be extremely popular at rope drop, so I would consider making it one of your first places that you come if you want to avoid long lines there at Alice in Wonderland. But Fantasyland's usually pretty good for hitting rapid fire rides, like 5 or 6 rides within the first hour easy. But if you want to be on some of the more popular attractions, like Peter Pan's Flight here in Fantasyland, or Rise the Resistance, everyone loves to go to Rise the Resistance first. Not only do you need to be here at Rope Drop, you need to be here at Rope Drop early. I'm talking front of the line. You're getting here at 7:20 when those gates open, and you are touching the rope at the front, and you're coming on a non-early entry day in order to have your best chances for getting on Rise the Resistance or things like Radiator Springs Racers over at DCA at the front of the line without having people already filled up like 20-30 minute waits beforehand. And so yes, you need to be here early and be here extra early if you want to be at the front of some of these very coveted ride lines to save the most amount of time. Now let's talk about the best ride strategy. How should you handle the park to save the most amount of time? Typically, I recommend chasing the low wait times. What does that mean? Well, it means taking a look at the Disneyland app, seeing what rides have low wait times, and then even if it means zigzagging across the park, you are going to those rides with the low wait times to avoid riding something that should be a 15-minute wait when it actually is 45 minutes. And something that's usually 45 minutes and you catch it at 10, that's the best case scenario. So I feel like chasing the low wait times is what I typically recommend. However, I do know a lot of people prefer to go land by land. Just be aware that you might be riding something when it has a longer than usual wait time. That doesn't mean that chasing the low wait times itself is without any issues. You could see 5 minutes posted for something, and by the time you get there, it's up to 25 or 30. Bummer. Believe me, happens to me more times than I care to admit. So either strategy really has its value. You just need to determine which one is right for you. Something else that you need to do while you're here is take advantage of Single Rider and Rider Switch. These are two services that Disneyland offers that will speed up your usage of the rides here in the park. I'm not going to belabor these two services. Single Rider allows people who are here by themselves or groups that don't mind getting split up to get on rides a little bit faster because they use these people to fill in empty spaces. And then Rider Switch allows families who are visiting with little kids who aren't tall enough to ride to actually not have to wait twice, in a sense, to ride those rides. Again, if you want some more details, check out my recent How to Survive the Crowds at Disneyland video. I went more into detail there. Like I said, don't want to belabor it here because we've recently covered it in great depth there, or in my Disneyland ride guides. I cover both of them there as well. Next, I recommend that you do your shopping early. Earlier in the morning, there's less people in these gift shops, and you'll find that you can look around a little easier, you can navigate them a little easier, and there aren't people standing in the way looking at things you want to look at, and it'll move a little bit faster for you if you do your shopping earlier in the morning. Additionally, you can also choose to shop on your off day. Go to Downtown Disney at the World of Disney. Look through that. It's the largest Disney store on property, and you can look through all of the gift shop merchandise, the souvenirs and things that they have there, and do it on the day that you arrive or on your off day, halfway through the trip that you're taking as like a break and things like that. That'll allow you to maximize your time in the park for rides and shows and activities while not wasting time in gift shops in really crowded spaces. Because if you try to do your shopping like after 8 o'clock at night, it's going to be almost impossible to navigate through the different stores. Something else you can do is take advantage of package hold services. So behind me is Pioneer Mercantile, which is actually where the store we were just in. And Disneyland, Pioneer Mercantile, Star Trader, Port Royal, and the Droid Depot will allow you to do package holds. That is, you purchase something and you leave your package there at the store, and they'll hold on to it for you, and then you pick it up by the end of the day, so you don't have to carry it around all day. And they, you don't have to purchase it from these places. You can take your purchases from, say, the Emporium over here to Pioneer Mercantile, and they will store your items. Over at Disney California Adventure, it's Elias & Company, Sarge's Surplus, and the Avengers Vault. As well as the stroller shop in the Esplanade will also perform package hold services. And as we mentioned earlier in the video, you absolutely should be mobile ordering your food when possible. Now, the only downsides of mobile order is that you can't make a whole lot of customizations. Mobile orders do have the ability for people with common allergies to order foods, such as gluten-free allergies, peanut allergies, things like that. They do have items like that on the menu. You just have to scroll down way to the bottom. However, if you would rather have this particular sauce taken off, or onions taken off, or that sort of thing, for those types of requests, you are going to often have to go do standby lines. But if you can, mobile order, it will save you some time. at the very least, look through those food menus while you're standing in line for other rides. Again, you're going to save yourself a lot of time here in the parks if you take advantage of those services. Additionally, plan to eat at Off-Peak Mealtimes. So, you know, eat at 11 a.m. when restaurants first open for lunch. Eat at 2 p.m. after the lunch rush is over. Eat at 4 p.m. for dinner, early dinner, before the dinner rush starts. And eat like after 8 p.m. for after the dinner rush. If you avoid the peak meal times, which are going to be 12 to 1 and probably about 5 to 7. If you avoid those peak meal times, you are also going to save a lot of times. While, you know, if you have to go through those standby lines, you're going to save a lot of time, and you'll be able to find tables a little easier as well. Now let's move on to some ride-specific tips. My mantra here is left is best, and this is a tip that really only ends up in this video once a year. So if you haven't seen this video before, you probably haven't heard me say that, but left is best is like my mantra for ride lines. What do I mean? Well, for rides like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad behind me, or Jungle Cruise, or I'm trying to think of some other ones, Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, Autopia. Towards the end of the line, they're going to split the line into two different sides, and you keep your party together, and generally speaking, left is the better one to go for. Why? Well, because generally it ends up being physically shorter a good chunk of the time. The one exception I can think of is Autopia, where the left line is actually longer, but it can still be better to take because whenever they aren't running all 4 lines at Autopia, they're usually running 2 on the left side and only 1 on the right. So even though the right side looks shorter, the left line will move faster. So in general, left is best is the way that you want to go when you're deciding which of those 2 lines to take. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule, and It's a Small World is going to be one of those exceptions. Why? Well, because the left-hand side of It's a Small World is the handicap loading, the handicap accessible side of the attraction. And anytime there is handicap loading on an attraction, the side with the handicap loading will tend to run a little slower for obvious reasons. They have to get a wheelchair in and out and things like that. And that's not a put down on the accessibility of the rides. I'm just letting you know that if you're trying to go for the fastest option, picking the line that doesn't have the handicap accessibility is going to move quicker for you. Now our next tip is to not do what everybody else is doing. And if you are here for rope drop, but you're not at the front of the line, and you are interested in coming to Rise the Resistance, this path is the way that everybody goes. And I mean everybody. There are people pretty much wall to wall through this tunnel, and it is a madhouse. Don't do that. Don't follow those people, because if you're not at the front of the line, you're pretty much at the back of the line, and it is going to take you a while to get through that attraction. I always tell people the best time to ride Rise the Resistance is at 9 a.m. It's after the initial rope drop rush, but before the large majority of people make it into the park. That's when I find the line to be the lowest. And if you miss 9 a.m., 7 to 8 p.m. is another really good time as people are starting to line up for fireworks and things, and they don't really go back to that back half of the park. So 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. are the 2 best times to ride Rise the Resistance. And for our second to last tip here, I want to tell you to position yourself near doors when you're on rides. What do I mean? Well, for rides like Rise the Resistance here behind me, you are going to find that there are a lot of doors that go into different parts of the attraction. And you'll watch a pre-show and then a door will open up and you'll be able to exit. Well, a lot of the time these doors are confusing. You don't exactly know where these doors are going to be. And in Rise the Resistance, when you enter the shuttle, the door that you enter is actually the door that you exit. There is a door on the opposite side that looks like you would exit over there, but it doesn't open. It's the same door that you go through. A lot of people don't know this, so if you position yourself near the door that you enter, if you're the last person into the shuttle, you could potentially be the first person out of the shuttle, bypassing all of those people who were in front of you and skipping a little bit of the line. Haunted Mansion has a very similar thing, and I'm going to see if I can find my diagram to put back up here on the screen. But whenever you first enter the little vestibule area that has the 2 rooms, one to the left and one straight ahead, if you enter the room straight ahead, the exit door is going to be on your left. And if you enter the room off to the left, the exit door is going to be off to the right. And this is, every single wall looks the same when you first go in there, but it is shaped kind of like an octagon. And it's more, like I said, towards the right-hand panel for the left room and towards the left-hand panel in the right room. And if you remember that, Again, you'll be able to bypass a lot of the crowds just by knowing where the exit doors are. Other rides that you should pay attention to that have doors like that are going to be rides like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Spider-Man Web Slingers, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, and a few others, I'm sure. These all have pre-shows with exit doors, and again, if you position yourself near those pre-shows, you are going to save some time. Other people will position themselves closest to be able to get a good vantage point of the pre-show at the front of the room and things like that, but if you go towards the back where those exit doors are, you are going to save some time. And for our final tip, we're over here at the Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh to tell you to use the Roo Pass or the Buddy Pass over at Monsters Inc. and at Disney California Adventure. We have talked about these quite frequently here on the channel if you are a longtime viewer, but if you're newer, you might not have heard me share about them yet. The Roo Pass is actually a single rider pass, but for multiple people. Depending on how small the people are in your party, you can squeeze up to 3 people in a row, but you can also have 2 in a row, and using the Roo Pass will again help you bypass the line. It'll allow you to essentially ride single rider on rides like Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and Monsters Inc. and do it without actually having to split up your party. My family of 4, we get 2 Roo Passes. I'll take one child, Amy will take the other. So we still do have to split up, but it is much faster than often waiting in the 25 to 40 minute standby lines. And that's going to be it for our time here today at Disneyland, giving you some tips to help you save time while you're here in the parks. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. If you got questions, drop them in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer them. Click this video to check out more of my Disneyland tips. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again next time.